So pretty dramatic. That's just part of the story. The whole thing's online. You can check it out. But I had a lot of people talking. Over 2 million people around the world watched that story today, and the number is still going up. Other law enforcement agencies around the country also seeing it. Many of them tweeting out the story to people, their followers who are following them on Twitter, including LAPD. Here's a tweet here. It says, great segment by Fox 10 Phoenix. Civil rights activists experiences shoot or don't shoot scenarios there. And then Major Max Gueron from the Dallas Police Department. Our Citizens Police Academy is a great way to learn too. Wish more politicians and media folks did this. And then Houston PD, please watch us. It shows how difficult it is to make split-second decisions, especially when they can be life or death.
And in last night's story, we heard how that experience affected Reverend Maupin, but there was so much more that you didn't hear. And so tonight, Reverend Maupin joins us live here on the set. And, you know, the thing is that you two both went home last night. You were shot in this training exercise, but you both got to go home last night. I mean, did you think about it a lot at night?
I did. As I reflected on what we went through, the intensity of the situation didn't leave me. It was very eye-opening.
Reverend Maupin, I know you've gotten a lot of feedback both from members of the community who follow you and also, I would imagine, members of the media and other people who just saw it online. Tell us about some of the reaction that you've heard today.
I've been surprised by some of the support from law enforcement and from people outside of the African-American community. For the most part, black activists and organizers have been supportive, but there is sort of a fringe group that's frustrated because they see any cooperation or any type of understanding or compromise as violating the tenets of the civil rights movement.
Like you're a sellout? They think you're selling out?
Well,
or what do you think?
Nothing could be further from the Kingian principles, nonviolent, you know, in the tradition of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And these are folks, frankly, that are occasional activists. They're not out on the front lines.
Right. Well, I mean, it's one thing to protest, but eventually the two sides have to come together and say, how can we work on this? The police saying, we're willing to go through additional training. We'll wear cameras. And what is the community willing to do on top? And you were saying, comply. Comply first. Deal with if there's anything done wrong later.
Well, that's what the NAACP is saying. That's what President Obama is saying. That's what all of the major mainstream groups are saying. We're also calling for a de-escalation of force on the part of officers to approach situations differently, maybe with less force. But the key to that is citizens complying, following the directives of the officer.
But you saw how that was handled with your own training. You know, the guy who was casing the cars, both of you didn't use force on him, and right away he shot at you. So you can see why in that moment where the adrenaline's flowing, you're afraid, and you want to go home, frankly, at the end of the night, where you can pull the trigger. Absolutely.
That's why complying is so key. There's no cowardice in complying. There's no indignity in complying. If your civil rights are violated, you need to live to tell the tale. Comply and live. Don't reject the officer's instructions and die. No one will ever hear your story.
Reverend Maupin, just a few weeks ago, you were marching right down Washington here with a bullhorn saying, we want your badge, we want your job, talking about the police officer who shot an unarmed man. Do you still feel that way?
I do still feel there are more questions than answers. I want an independent investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death of Romaine Brisbane, whether it's another county attorney, whether it's the feds stepping in to investigate this. We want an objective investigation, like I demanded and received in the case of Michelle Cusseau, the mentally ill woman who was killed because she had a hammer in her hand. But I still want my community to do everything that it's responsible for doing, complying, law-abiding. You know, just because you're black and you have a hoodie on and you're out front of a liquor store doesn't make you a suspect. But when you become suspect because of a call or when an officer places you in that situation, comply and you know, maintain your composure and your dignity so that we can fight that civil rights case that comes out of that, or you can walk free. You know, the demand for identification, the demand for your motives, what you're doing in the community is not unreasonable, and it's you know, everyone goes through that. White, black, brown, red, yellow, we're all questioned by police.
Quickly before we let you go, do you think this will change the rhetoric? I mean, some of the rhetoric, and Troy mentioned that was said at some of these protests. Would that change now after you've walked a mile kind of in their shoes?
We have protests and protesters, we have outrage, but there still has to be solutions. The police aren't going anywhere, black people aren't going anywhere, people aren't going anywhere. We have to work together and find compromise, policy change, policy reforms. And if you don't go through the training and you don't put yourself in their shoes, how can you relate to them?
Right.
That's the challenge.
A lot of respect that you did
Yeah,
that.
really appreciate you going through this with us yesterday. I think it did open some eyes, so thank you.
Reverend
Good
Maupin,
stuff.
thanks so much.
All right, so again, if you'd like to watch the entire story, it's about 3 minutes long. We posted it on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Fox10Phoenix, and while you're there, you can also watch some of the raw video. You may have noticed that Reverend Maupin had something kind of strapped on his chest. That was a GoPro camera, so we have all that raw GoPro stuff on there as well, so check that out.